and that didn't have to be court action, I talked to her. I just gave her the title, so she's a veteran service officer, administrative assistant, now she can do the paperwork and serve, in doing some of the certification papers, once they get, assign her a number. So all three of them went through the certification course. We're gonna start doing that with Veteran Service Commission. They're planning, we had 22, at least, all of those, but maybe 2 or 3 stayed in our hotels, for two or 3 days. And, we're gonna try to make that grow a little bit. But we're gonna do an advanced class later in the year, to help our veteran service officers. At the same time, they don't have to travel, they can get the certification right here. And so give them more education at the same, and help the surrounding areas. We had one came from as far as Matagorda County, so just want to give you an update on that. Collections reports, Historical Commission received the 2024 annual certification for Skull Creek Solar LLC as required under their tax abatement agreement. And then we have minutes for the regular meeting, March 25th, 2024, and the regular meeting, April 8th, 2024. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Chapin?
Yes.
All right, motion by Commissioner Chapin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So ordered.
Judge, on this number 5, I've got one here that's waiting that's got a preliminary plat. We just need to accept this. Others will be a little lengthy. Is there any way we can do that to get them where they can get theirs done?
Is this on,
This is on the number 6. Yeah, they have everything in order. It's really something we just need to accept their preliminary plat today.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, that way when it's set through.
I don't have names of, are y'all here to, let us accept the plan?
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Preliminary, correct? Yes, sir. Okay.
Just preliminary. They've got everything in order. I can't say the name, so why don't you tell them?
Papa Fagan, subdivision. I'm Steve Fagan. This is Sovita Papa.
Okay. And they've got everything in order. They've got, it's all gonna be coming off of state, the state highway 294, all their accesses.
Okay.
They're broke down in 3-acre lots, so, and they got everything in order. So
Thank
they've
you,
got
sir.
their packages for it. I'd like to present that to y'all today and then accept their preliminary
We've got
plan,
water access.
everything.
How you doing, sir?
Electrical, water, everything's good.
Papa Fagan.
Those are gonna be internal roads at all?
No internal roads, just coming off of 294. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's just coming off 294 and it's approximately 12-acre tract and it's broke down. They've got everything. No, it's actually more than, one of them's 2.78, so it's about 15 acres.
Yes.
But it's all got highway frontage and they all got adequate everything, water, electrical, everything is in place. I had Kathy.
Well, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon, does a second? Commissioner-
Yes, sir. Second.
Second by Commissioner Mills, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So ordered.
So that's our first step. Kathy will take care of you on the rest of it. Y'all get the rest of it done.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great one.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Item number 5 is here from Gregory Miller of Bickerstaff Heat, LLP regarding legal requirements of the Series 2021 certificate of obligation issued October 2021 to finance remodeling of the Civic Center.
Good morning, Judge,
Hello,
Commissioners.
sir.
Will you hit that light on? That looks good. You can probably turn that
It's
one back on. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. You see. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Alrighty, thank y'all for inviting me to come here and speak on this important topic. It's good to be here with you. And what I was asked to speak about, and I'll tell you that, but if there's any questions that are related, please feel free to ask me. If you just want to jump in with questions, please don't hesitate to do that. I was asked to look at the 2021 series of certificates of obligation. that were issued to essentially finance the improvements to the county civic center. As I understand.
Maybe pull that mic down a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times I talk pretty loud without a microphone.
That's better.
Good deal, thank you.
It's got to be recorded.
So we're going to go through the purposes of those COs, but essentially they were to improve the existing county civic center. Why don't we just start with that? And then if y'all want to jump in, please let me know.
Just tell me when you need me.
Oh yeah, please go ahead and switch that. Just a quick overview. I'd like to talk about the background, meaning how the certificates came to be issued and sold, what the purposes were, and kind of going from that, just a little bit more in-depth look at what the allowable uses are. And then I'd also like to, kind of a spoiler alert here, they can only be used for the existing civic center. But I would like to look at some of the options for going outside of that. So the reason I want to go over the background is because a lot of the steps in the process are pretty important for the questions that we're looking at. So going back to August 23rd, I had 24, I apologize, guys. It should be 2021. The court authorized the publication of what's called notice of intent to issue certificates of obligation. That's required by statute. It's you giving the public 45 days notice at least that you want to issue COs for a specific reason, and this is how you're going to pay for it. In this case, it was tax revenue. Pursuant to statute, that was published twice, 26th and September 2nd. The reason why we like to have publication, or the statute requires it even, is A, it gives the public notice, and related to that is if 5% or more of the voters don't agree with that, or they have serious reservations, they have a chance to petition, get a petition together and bring it to y'all. And if they do so, then the matter goes to an election. So just to kind of go back and kind of focus on this a little bit, that's why it's important to describe it exactly correct in that notice. Because if you don't do that, then how does the public know what they're reacting to? So then October 25th, after a little bit more than 45 days had elapsed, you went ahead and authorized the COs, and there were no petitioners. I was in here, actually. There was nobody petitioning. Yep. Seems like a while ago. Seems like a while ago. Yeah.
I can make a copy real quick for y'all if you want.
Okay.
That's perfect.
After it gets through with it, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'd be glad to email it too.
Yes,
If y'all want.
Well, I've got,
Okay.
I printed it for Mark.
Oh, did you?
Can you make a copy for everybody? Yes, sir.
All right, so basically we established the notice and the significance of that. So now let's kind of focus on what the stated purpose was in the newspaper. Renovation, improvement of, and for the construction of an expansion to the civic center owned by the county located in Palestine, Texas. That's what everybody saw, and that's what everybody would have been reacting to. So if you could please forward the slide a little bit. And I apologize that this is kind of restating it, but I'd like for us to kind of focus on a few words here. So this is the use of an ad valorem tax, and I emphasized a couple of words here. I mean, there's other important ones too, but all of these ideas of renovation, improvement, and construction, it's of an expansion. And then to the civic center. So if you ask yourself, what would a voter think, when they read that? I think that's kind of what you got to look at. I also kind of want to back up a little bit too, because there's a little bit of background here with regards to the statutes that apply. If y'all would have said we want to build a brand new civic center, that wouldn't have been allowed under statute. The reason being, if you're going to use tax revenue, there's a pretty finite list of things you can do. Building a new civic center is not on that list, and the Attorney General takes that list very seriously, and they are not willing to go outside of that. So even if you wanted to do a new building, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
So that's legislative.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they don't allow you to build a new building
That's what he said.
with COs, correct?
Yeah.
Correct,
That's
without
right.
an election. And just to give you an idea of what some of those allowable buildings would be is like having to do with communications infrastructure,
Thanks.
public safety, like you could do a new,
That's right.
jail or something.
Right, there's some allowed.
Right.
Things for governmental entity to do, correct?
Correct. And just for a little bit of history, some people might think about after 2019 and before 2019. Before 2019, it was pretty much wide open what you could do. The limitations that we have today, those came in with the 19 legislative session.
Yes, sir.
I think I remember though, you're stating something like this previously, and,
Yeah.
I see where you have those highlighted. Expansion and the.
Yeah.
That means expanding the Civic Center.
Yeah,
That's right.
And that was the initial,
yeah, and that would have fit with the statute, so.
yes, sir.
So, if you wouldn't mind forwarding the slide, please.
Okay.
So here, I know this is overdoing it, but I want to I just kind of want to have, rehash what we just talked about, just to be clear about it. Renovation, improvement, construction of an expansion, that's basically restating it, but what that leads up to is, if you're not going to be doing those things, then it's not allowable under statute to say, okay, well, we have $5 million. We're not going to use it for this. Let's use it for something else. You can't do that. I would think that you would most likely need to defease those bonds. And what I mean is create an escrow account and tell all the bondholders that you're going to pay those off at the earliest possible moment. There might be a component of notifying the IRS, but it's not a sense where you get penalized for it, but they do need to know that. So,
Judge,
Yeah.
Do you have your mic muted? By any chance?
No?
Yes. No try.
Red lights on?
Now it's it.
You might check him sound, just, sorry, see if you can turn his mic up. Mr. Miller's mic. Oh, it's coming through, so
Yeah, I hear it.
I can hear it now. Listen. Yeah, okay,
It was muted from the back.
well, Judge Duran, they used the courtroom the other day, he might not have needed a mic. Okay. Were you able to turn Mr. Miller's mic up? Try it one,
testing.
yeah, that's a little,
Good.
you're soft-spoken, so.
You know what? That's the first time I've ever heard that.
That's, hey, you're good now. Okay,
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, please forward in the slide.
next one,
Yes, sir.
okay.
So how could we do something different? If the concern is, as I understand it, there are some who would like to construct a new facility at a different location. I don't know if that's correct, but that's the impression I got.
It's just options, that's all. We're
Okay.
just here, all we want to be is educated on options.
Okay,
You know,
good.
because there's been no proposals to anything. It's just concerns of options.
All right, well, then
Thank
this
you.
slide's for you.
Yes, sir.
You can have an election. And with that, you can use your tax to pay for it, the ad valorem tax, if the voters approve it. Other things, these require a little bit more thought and creativity, but the county could look at forming a public facility corporation. I don't know if you have one of those. And that would create a vehicle for issuing debt to pay for the facility. It's kind of I don't know how to describe it. It's not complex, but there's a lot of different steps. It would essentially, at the end of the day, the county would be leasing the property from itself. The rent that it paid would go to pay the bonds. And I can illustrate that later on if that's something you're looking at.
Is that sort of like a co-op, where you have those, like a Rusk County co-op, where multiple entities in the county use those co-op buildings, from the electric company to everybody?
I didn't think of that. It could turn into like a multi,
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
yeah, I never thought of that. So basically the idea is the county's paying the rent that goes to pay the debt service, and you could use your maintenance and operations tax. I know that's not a comfortable thing to do, but that's something that other counties have done in other situations. The other one is you might want to explore public-private partnerships. If there's any kind of commercial entity out there or other group that would want to support that. So, next slide, please. And
But
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
talking about now are other vehicles not using our existing funds.
correct,
We're not talking about using the existing funds that we have
No.
that's right.
deposited right now.
Right, because if you're, and that
From
goes back to,
sales.
that goes back to previously, if you're not going to use it for the Civic Center, then you'll need to go ahead and defease those. These are for if you want to come up with a
Right,
new
I
way to
just
do
want
it.
to make sure that that was clear.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, on the election, if it was put out to the voters could they decide to do something else with that money? But by what you said, no new facility could be built with it no matter what, because the government's not gonna allow that. But if something else was chose to do with that money, that it could be put on an election for the voters, say, yes, we will allow y'all to use it for this purpose here.
That makes logical sense, but unfortunately, we're talking about statutory law here, so that money is set up for those COs only. So you would have to defease those and then issue a new set of bonds.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when you
But if we
use,
defease those, we would lose money too.
you would, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You would lose money, and the trade-off, I guess, is if you don't do it and they're parked in an account for a while, and you don't take action for tax exempt purposes, then penalties could accrue. So it's a, I don't know the right word for it, but either way, it's going to cost y'all money. So
What do you do with the unused portion of it? If you go in and design this layout and it costs 2/3 of what you borrowed, what happens to the rest of that money?
then, as I understand it, it would end up going to the debt service fund to pay down the debt.
It would stay there to make the monthly payments, correct?
Yeah,
Yes. And nothing else could be used for, but only specifically to make those monthly payments, correct?
exactly. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
That was a use, wasn't it? Part of the use?
Yep.
Isn't that stated? Yeah.
Yeah. And so the idea being though, if you know you're not going to use it anymore, that's when you have to look at it. The idea is once you, I'm trying to think of the statute exactly, and this is federal regulations, once you have a reasonable expectation that you're not going to use it for the purpose, that's when you need to defease those bonds.
Okay.
when you say the fees, so somebody may not understand that.
I
You're
see,
talking
yeah.
about taking the existing funds, which is right now about $5,933,000. I didn't look on the treasurer's report this time, but ought to be pretty close there. So you'd have to put that in an escrow account, not spend it. The interest off that money is gonna go to the bonding companies, okay? We're still gonna have to pay the principal and the interest of about $400,000 until 2031, which all total, that together is over $8 million, based on the schedule.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's in our, I mean, that shows up in our budget, so.
Yeah.
So, is that a correct analogy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think, like, as you mentioned, it's an expensive proposition either way because you're locked into paying that interest. I think some things that happen is you can put that into an account and buy some, invest a certain amount so the investments can go back and pay some of that interest at least, but not all of it.
You
So,
won't recoup it.
no, sir.
You won't recoup it.
And if you could please forward
Yes, sir.
one more. Yep. And this is just to wrap everything up, basically, and open it up for further questions. The COs have a single purpose. At least, if I'm a citizen reading that in the paper, that's what I would think. And just to kind of drive that point home, the public notice requirements kind of set the stage there. I point to the definition of debt. That's basically what explains why you can't use it for a new building. That the definition of debt ties into the statute and what you can and can't issue for. If you're not going to use them for the stated purpose, they must be defeased. If you're going to use your ad valorem tax, the voters have to approve it. The PFC or public-private partnership might be ways to look at getting your facility constructed. And really what that last point is there might be some creative options out there for you if y'all want to pursue those.
Yeah, on that first part you showed us, well, we have other options, is what you're talking about on that last point. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, when you get through, I have a couple of questions.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. You and I spoke on the phone about what was, as far as doable or not doable when it comes to reconstructing, the building, and you said that you would need to see that or go out and look at that.
Yeah.
Because there's an issue with parts of the building that has, a lot of fall and a lot of heights, bringing it down, leaving some of, the existing building. And how do we ever come to where we determine what's a remodel or is new construction?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So is that something you and I would have to go look at?
Yeah, it is. And the reason I say that is because I've looked and there is no definition in the law of what is a remodel, versus a rehab and stuff like that. And on top of that, there's no definition of what a civic center is. So what I mean by pointing that out is the further, if you want to start adding things like governmental offices or things that aren't what the common person would think of as a civic center, that's when you need to start being kind of wary.
You gotta watch.
I'm sorry?
You gotta watch. You see, if
Yeah.
you're stepping out those boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And because, like I said, there's no definition, so it makes it challenging because you have to think of what the voters were thinking about when they read that.
That's right.
So
But there's
I got
no,
two
as
questions.
far as what percentage of that building could be completely tore down.
No.
And what was left, you could add to it.
Well, see, what I'm thinking is, it says improving the existing, and then it said the expansion of the civic center. Those statements right there, or phrases, however you want to put it, improving the existing civic center. That means if the floor is a problem, you can go in there and fix that floor. That means if we have the COs for this building, expansion the civic center. Long as you keep the core constructed building, you can expand around it. And then to answer Greg's question, and for, last name again, sir?
Miller.
Mr. Miller, I want to be correct. I was going to say something else. But for Mr. Miller, I believe during this item, Judge, if he needs to go see it, because it is an item of discussion, could we recess on this and go out there and come right back?
Oh, we
We
can.
got a long agenda.
But I understand that, but this has been a
Well, we
long
do,
fight,
it's your
and this needs
job.
to be addressed for the
But
people.
are you the one
I
that'll
think-
actually make the call to saying that is or who actually does that? If we said, hey, this section, we want to bring the ceiling height down, the floor height up. Who makes that approval?
It's ultimately the Attorney General makes that approval. What we can do is discuss the plans, how we can get it more into what we have seen. And the way we do that is pretty interesting. We have access to all the bonds that have ever been issued in the state. So we can go back and do some keywords and we can see what those were. And we can go from there, and like we're talking about, there's no definitions for a lot of these concepts. So all we can do is use our judgment. And then what we would do before we go too far down the road is get in touch with the Attorney General's office and say, this is what we'd like to do. What do y'all think? And then we can work with them to get to a spot.
So you'd say, you'd advise us before we taking one section of the building down to go to the Attorney General to find out basically the plans for what it do.
Yes, sir. And even before we do that, we might do some research and find something exactly like what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then we can say, look, it's been done. And then we wouldn't have any problem getting it through the AG's office.
Yeah, I don't think
All things
that's a
being
problem.
equal.
That's a case that already
Like
been
I
heard.
said,
I'm
we're
sorry.
trying to, go ahead.
Oh, no, you just
We're
said.
just trying to compromise what we've got, and I think it's too much to invest in to just take a compromise to it. We have a 14-foot slope floor and 24-foot ceilings, which are just, it doesn't make sense. So us to have the controlled climate spaces and having molds and just, I mean, it can just be reconstructed. Still, there's a lot of the buildings still that will exist, you know?
Yeah,
So just one area that's giving us the most problem.
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a question to the court, Judge. From sitting here listening to Greg and listening to Mr. Miller, I would like to ask the court if we could go out there for a short recess on this agenda item. Let Mr. Miller put his eyes on it before he leave. Therefore, we won't just be going back and forth over the telephone. He has an understanding, and then he's able to answer the questions that we're calling and answering.
Oh, man.
Do we
How
have?
about you, Mr.
Do we
Miller?
have to?
I've got time, yeah.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, well, with the court's pleasure, yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, we got two plans right now.
Yes, sir.
So there's a floor plan for the original plan that shows 2 floors in the auditorium, or a lower level and a first floor. There's some expansion on the 2 corners.
I just don't know if it, looking at it now after seeing the drawings, if it wouldn't be feasible if the auditorium section could be removed and leave the office section, and that's the core part of the Civic Center, and fill the hole in and do a new construction there that wouldn't be as cheap as what we're trying to do.
Probably
To
cheaper.
level the floors, have multi-levels, still have a attic that's
Yeah.
gonna be hollow for years. But that's what I'd like to see, if we completely took part of it off and restarted that product, would that be something that's feasible? Well, I think, in my
can
opinion,
make-
it'd be cheaper to build the same amount of square footage you're gonna get out of multi-levels and ramps and all kinds of stuff, and have a building that's,
Because if that's the case, it would cut out our elevators and all the other stuff. If we come, we had to set up plans.
You have the expansion.
Yes,
That solves everything.
presented that was ridiculous. And then the second set of plans is governmental offices, and that's not on my behalf.
But you're not an
Would
architect,
consider.
right?
I'm
You
sorry?
understand?
You're not an
You have to
architect.
submit it. Judge,
No, I can.
Not at all.
I
Yeah,
mean, if I'd have known this, I could have pulled up the plans.
Yes, sir. Could you give us authorization to go out there, your court official?
Well, we're just gonna have to recess and go out there. As far as I'm concerned, anybody in the courtroom can go out there if we're gonna recess,
Yes, sir.
if they're interested in going out there. But if that's what y'all wanna do, is that what you wanna
That'd
do?
be fine. And then we can just show you what we're thinking about, that we
Okay.
can take down, and then you can go back and decide whether if we need to present that, how to the Attorney General, whatever, but, I just need to
sounds
show
good to
you.
me, yeah.
Okay.
Let me call my maintenance director.
Okay.
Hey, I need you to meet us out, the court's recess and going out to the Civic Center. I need you to meet us out there. You got your key?
I wanna be all.
Okay, all right.
You good?
Bye.
Don't blame me.
All right, we're gonna stand in recess until probably gonna be 11 o'clock before we start back. We'll stand in recess till 11 o'clock to go visit the Civic Center. Anybody's welcome to go.
Yes, sir.
All right, after recess, we'll reconvene at 10:49 a.m. and show that all the members of the court, except for Commissioner Hill, are present in the courtroom. And we'll, all right, Mr. Miller? Essentially, Mr. Miller, based on what you put up on the PowerPoint, that we could remodel and and you could have an expansion to the Civic Center, right?
I'd like to go ahead and take a step back from my perspective and say, as we discussed, remodel expansion can mean different things. I would feel much more comfortable responding to a specific set of plans, and I'd be glad to sit down and go over those. Yeah, but I do want to thank you for showing me the facility. I think when we have future conversations, that's going to be invaluable for sure.
But Mr. Miller, on the plans, there's some way we can present possible idea plans because, if we build a set of plans and get them drawn up so that you can look at them, this happened the other day, it cost $10,000 just to get a set of plans. So we'd rather have something that we could maybe propose, writing some type, big chief tablet style, whatever it takes, whatever you mean, just a sketch of something. Is that something possible you could work with that you can take back?
From my perspective, the
Okay.
big chief pad will work just as good. One thing I would be really interested in is anything that was existing, back in 2021 around August, whenever the court approved publishing those notices. Because I think it'd be good to know if anything like that was kind of before the public, if they were paying attention to commissioner court meetings or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
I think that'd be useful.
There's an original set of plans from back then.
There is? Or-
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if we could start there. And we could, you
There's
see
actually
what,
2 sets of plans, so,
and you see what I'm
that
getting
the
at, right?
architect drew.
Okay, you see what I'm going for is trying to get a sense of what the public might have been thinking.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, there's no more questions.
Okay.
What, if the bond was decided through all this, it wasn't gonna be used, what would the estimated cost it'd be to the county to do whatever you have to that bond to give it back, to present it back? How do you figure out what the cost on that would be?
In terms of principal and interest and all that, I would get with your financial advisor, Hilltop. I believe George Williford or Eric Maha would be able to help you, and we can work with them too.
They're the ones that can tell him whether if you just said, hey, we're gonna send them back and then reapply for more, this is what it costs. I think that's what he's
Yeah.
asking you.
Mhm. Yeah, they
So
could-
that
they could-
wouldn't be a question you would answer. It'd be something we'd have to, on that end, and
Correct.
just say if they were paid off, that this is what it's gonna cost the county. This is the suffering of the losses or whatever it is, and then to turn around so that if he wants to look in any other options, he could have that, so.
Yep, yeah, and they can, I
Can
don't want
you-
to speak for them, but they can do it
No,
pretty
that's
quickly.
right.
Yeah,
But they are the ones that do that.
yep,
Okay, so on your behalf, it's gonna be the construction side of what they be utilized for.
right, exactly. And then I can also walk through the process for defeasing those bonds in terms of the
Of what
mechanics
our
of it.
principal and interest
And,
is.
and we would
No,
pay
no, we're
principal,
talking about
interest,
if,
and,
We call them.
penalties until a certain year, correct?
Right, the penalties would not, if you do everything according to the IRS regulations, then there shouldn't be any
Shouldn't be
penalties
the
at all.
penalty,
Yeah.
but principal and interest until,
The penalties would come if you didn't disclose it.
yes, sir.
Yeah. But I think Mr. Dixon's question was, is if it, X amount of dollars, what it is to pay it off, and what would it cost the county as, if you, just to go back and redo it, if that be an option.
Yeah.
If it's on the table. And we'd have to reach out to who?
Hilltop Securities.
Hilltop,
Hilltop?
That's who handled our bond.
George or
At the
Eric.
most, it would be, at the most, it would be our principal and interest. I mean, that's
Right.
what you're asking, right?
Yes.
But of course, the interest would be less if we're, because I think we discussed that.
Yeah,
right?
you would take whatever the back end off, but, and also you would factor in any kind of investment earnings you might have.
Right.
So,
But that would be to a certain year though, correct?
2031.
31,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
yep,
But
Right
they'll
now,
tell,
this
they
year
can
is
tell
how
him
much?
the bottom line of what it would be.
they should, yeah.
Yeah.
Not,
That's
they
what-
would definitely will be able to, yeah.
But like I said, there's an option of investing some of that money in something to recoup some of the interest and all that. That's just for these other ideas you give us as to how to borrow money other than to build a new facility to do it in them other two ways you showed us a while ago?
Yeah.
Through a partnership or something like that?
Because, I mean, if there's a option of that and it's feasible to do, you could reorder the COs in a different form. If we, the courts decided to take it down to ground level and build a brand new one, if that be the case. It just needs that description
Right.
into those COs when they're prescribed, correct?
Correct. And one thing that we might want to look at, and I wish I had an answer for you right now, is could we use the COs to accomplish some of the things and then supplement that with a voted bond or a different, and I don't have an answer for that, but maybe there's a way to.
Is that something you could resolve, find out the answer to
Definitely,
that
yeah,
yourself?
yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying there's a bridge?
Yeah, I would think that you would be able to do that, but I don't have an answer right now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's
we'd
understandable.
like
I didn't
for
think
you
about
to-
that
if
till
you would
Mr. Dixon.
research that,
Yeah.
If you get Ken, just to see if, because they, at the end of the day, we might not be able to, utilize all that amount of money on this one project,
Okay.
so.
But you could also use it to pay off the bond, pay
Yeah.
towards the principal and interest. So,
Yeah.
Because at this
We would be
point,
able
we
to
have
use all of
not had a set of plans that fit. None of them have been accepted, so they're not valid in this court,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just ideas, and dreams, and some of it just can't be met, and some of it just don't make sense. So we just have to deal with it in that manner until we figure out where we need to be with it.
All right.
I appreciate your time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thanks for
We
being
can
here.
figure something
Thank
out.
you, Mr. Murphy.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. It was good to meet everybody. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thanks for
us.
taking the time to go do that.
I
Yes, sir.
appreciate
That was
you.
the first
When-
commissioner's court I've ever been.
Now, when we talk on the phone, you'll know more about what the craziness of our thoughts are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen crazier, but yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
You
good
be
deal.
safe going on.
Okay, bye, guys.
Have a safe
Yes,
trip.
Thank you, sir.
Be careful.
Okay.
All right, item number 7 is consider and take action on approving a quote for a half-ton pickup truck for a courthouse maintenance department, from Anderson County Local Dealership, and consider declaring 2003 Dodge truck VIN 1 David 7 Henry Adam 18 Nora 13 Sam 206108 currently in maintenance surplus to be sold at the auction. I think we got the auction coming up. I sent out a request for quotes after our last meeting. Here's a copy of everything for y'all. These are the quotes from all the local dealerships. And a copy of the request for quote is on the back page.
Thanks, sir.
Can you pass that one to Mark? And then also, to do the decals, and Megan reminded me that we needed that goes with the truck, so, the lowest quote was, All-Star Autoplex for the Chevrolet pickup, and all of them met the specs. It's crew cab, V8, and about 17, 18 miles a gallon gas. And here's the, and like I said, y'all got a copy of what was requested on the quotes. The lowest quote was All-Star Autoplex for $43,098.23. And here's a quote from Ram to put the decals on. They did the last ones. They've already got the setup, so we didn't have to pay for setup.
What did you-
Oh, I need that one back. I got a total on it. I forgot I wrote that on there. So there may be one other decal that they need to put on the back of the truck. It just says courthouse maintenance. So, it was $319.98 on the decals. except for that. So I was asking if we could do up to $43,450 for the truck and the decals.
Do you, is there a capital outlay budget for this out of the courthouse, or what does this do?
Megan, what,
There is approximately 85,000 in capital outlay equipment if y'all wanted to do a budget amendment out of there into vehicles. Because there's not any in vehicles because it's the sheriff's
Who's been
office.
using the capital outlay equipment?
I mean, we've only used like 12,000. I think we got a copier or maybe 2 copiers. I don't remember exactly what else the court's approved.
the shop told me that Dodge is kind of on its last leg.
It was kinda on the last leg when I get the
Yeah, I
deal.
know. Hey, but it's giving them a chance.
Well, it's went to the sheriff's department, to Road and Bridge, and
Yeah.
now, yeah, it helped us a bunch.
But, yeah, it's helped them be able to get more projects done, not have to wait on each other for one truck, so.
So
What do
this
y'all
would,
think?
if the court approved, this would require a budget amendment, or if the court wanted to do ARPA. That's an
No,
option
I'm
as
not
well.
interested in that. I'd rather just move the capital outlay money over to vehicle.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the quote from All Star Autoplex for $43,098.23 for the truck, and approve up to $43,450 to include the decals from Ram Auto Center,
And
Do I
then, budget amendment number 31.
and to approve budget amendment number 31
Come on, capital outlay.
out of capital outlay. Do I have a motion?
So,
Motion by Commissioner Mims. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Dixon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So ordered. Lade didn't have, all he had was a four-wheel drive, so that's why he didn't turn a bid in. He didn't have one available. All right, item number 8 is consider and take action on approving a renewal of the service contract with Carrier for all air and heat at the Anderson County Annex. And that's enclosure 1. We did that last year. This is the renewal. The cost went up, total for the year, $795. And the total is $79.80. And one thing that we did do is adjust the air in this building, and we're saving about $1,000 a month by making just an adjustment to the computer to where it cuts off at a certain time at late in the evening, and then cuts back on like 5 or 5:30 in the morning. So that way it's cooled down or heated up depending on the weather.
Who is our Cary, dealership here? Which one is that? I mean,
Well,
it
no,
just
this is
says a contract with
yeah,
Cary.
this is a contract for services. I think he comes from Morris, is it Morris County? Yeah, around Dangerfield is our service rep, and I've got him coming this week.
But is he doing it because he's a Cary dealer? I mean, is that what we've got here?
Yeah, it's a Carrier.
But we don't have locals that can do a service deal for us, or?
Well, this is just the main company. And I talked to him this morning. It's Shreveport, Louisiana. So this is the main company, and then the service guy is in around
Yeah, I
Dangerfield.
understand that. I just, being there a Carrier dealer, we have Carrier dealers here. I guess would be my question, do we have anybody that's capable of servicing us that are with?
Probably not on this building
in
because of all those air handlers, and
Okay,
it takes some subject matter expertise to take care of that.
all right.
But we were
check that out.
spending about 15,000 a year, I think, and this has reduced some of our cost. And that $1,000 a month savings, we're gonna try to work on a couple other things to,
And this is a yearly contract, correct?
yes.
So we got a year to check that out anyway. Okay, appreciate it.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal service contract with Carrier for the air and heat units for the Anderson County Courthouse Annex in the amount of $7,980. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon. Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Okay. Item number 9 is consider to take action on authorizing Walmart Transportation Department to host a regional truck driving championship at the Civic Center on May the 23rd and 24th, 2024. They called and asked us, they were having some construction out at the warehouse, so they didn't have they normally do it out there, they didn't have the place to do it this year, and they asked if we could let them use the parking lot. They've got about 7 DPS troopers that are gonna be assisting them in this rodeo and I guess judging and everything else, so there'll be security there. And, I think James told me I believe they're gonna have like a food truck there to serve food. We're gonna let them use the multipurpose room, just some tables and chairs there to do the registration, so. They came and I told them, well, I need to get the court to authorize it. They've kinda already advertised it and everything, so.
Sounds good to me.
I just thought he said it'd be about 50 people coming into town, so that's heads and beds, everything we can do that. I'll entertain a motion to approve authorizing Walmart Transportation Department to host Regional Truck Driving Championship at the Civic Center on May 23rd and 24th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon, is that a second, Commissioner Mims?
Second,
Okay, second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Item number 10 is consider to take action on allowing Evangelistic Temple to utilize the Civic Center parking lot on June the 29th, 2024 for the overflow parking due to the conference being held at Evangelistic Temple. They got their women's conference there at the church, and they sent an email. I think y'all got a copy of that in your packet, requesting to just use that as overflow parking for their conference.
Judge, I'll make the motion to allow Evangelistic Temple to use it.
Okay.
Use the parking lot on June the 29th of 2024 for the overflow parking for their conference.
All right, motion by Commissioner Chapin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Was that an aye too?
Aye.
I heard two. Okay.
Yes, aye.
All right. All opposed? Okay. So ordered. Item number 11 is consider to take action on an annual contract between Anderson County and Anderson Cherokee County Enrichment Services. And this is our annual contract. Of course, Access is our single portal authority for mental health, and we worked with Anderson and Cherokee County on this. Actually, I think they're funding one officer, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Sheriff?
Yes.
Okay. That's Rick Matthews. And so that gives us that resource. Plus, a lot of their mental health is screened by them at the hospital and help determine where beds are and what resources we can use for different people for the different needs that they have with mental health. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the Anderson and Cherokee County Enrichment Services interlocal agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Mims. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Chapin. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Item number 12 is considered to take action on allowing Iowa Creek 4-H have their quilting ceremony in the annex on May the 23rd at 5:30. Commissioner Chapin.
Yes, sir, that's gonna be Thursday on May the 23rd. Ms. Jones, that is the overseer of the I-9 4-H Club, but they're gonna have their quilting ceremony. There's about 8 or 9 kids that are involved in it this year that are gonna be recognized, and they wanted to use one of our rooms, probably the 103A. So, and I will be here for them through the whole ceremony.
going in 103A.
Then I'll move to wherever we can have it. You have anything going on here?
Not that I know of in
I mean, if
103.
not, then we can have it in Commissioner's Court. Either way, I told her that. I mean, we'll find her a room somewhere or in Gary's. When she said there might be 30 people at the most.
Are they needing tables and chairs?
No, sir, just the chairs to sit down.
Okay,
So they have the ceremony and recognize them, so I'll find them a spot somewhere.
okay.
Okay, might be there, be just something they can do to get
Okay.
inside. And it will be at 5:30, so it'll be over, it's not really, and I guess the election goes on till about 7 or 8, doesn't it?
Yeah, 7.
Thursday?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
Okay. We'll do that.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to allow INI Creek 4-H to have their quilting ceremony at the annex on May 23rd at 5:30. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, so ordered. Item number 13 is consider and take action on purchasing a Caterpillar Model 424 SX backhoe loader for Precinct 3 Road and Bridge. Commissioner Dixon.
Yes, sir, I got a quote from Holt Cat for $133,520 for the specifications on the loader that I sent him. He sent me this price back through Sourcewell, and, Megan said that is,
Yes, we are part of it.
that we go through. So I'd like to ask the court today to allow me to issue this PO for this machine. It possibly won't be delivered till August, so that's why I'd like to try to go ahead and get it ordered now, or issue the PO now so that we can go ahead and get it ordered.
And that's through a cooperative or something?
Yes, sir, Sourcewell's cooperative program.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to consider and take action on purchasing a Caterpillar Model 424 SX backhoe loader for Precinct 3, and the total is $133,520, is that correct?
Yes, sir, and that would be out of my capital outlay.
Out of Precinct 3 Road and Bridge capital outlay. I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Mims, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Chapin, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? So ordered. All right, item number 14, consider and take action to accept the petition to lower the speed limit on Anderson County Road 463 from 60 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour.
Yes, Mr. Hill has received a petition to ask to lower that speed limit, and he just wants to see if the court would accept the petition today so he could get started on the process he needs to go about lowering the speed limit on this road.
Yeah, and we'll need to call a hearing for that at a later date,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm not sure on them dates yet as to when it has to be published and all that, but Kathy can,
Yeah, it's about
2
2
weeks out.
weeks, 2 weeks out.
One of the
So have
things,
another hearing if anybody wants to contest.
yeah.
2 weeks out.
I'll make the motion to accept the petition to allow Precinct 4 to lower the speed limits on Anderson County Road 463 from 60 to 35 miles an hour.
and
Motion.
just for y'all's information, you may check and see if we need the phone numbers on there anymore.
You want to
I think
change
there
the
has to
form.
be at least one phone number, maybe whoever filed the petition.
Yeah,
If
Allison
y'all wanna
said.
check that for the future,
We will.
I asked Joy about it and I talked to Allison, but she couldn't find any actual statute on it.
Yeah, she said there was no statute on it, but if we want to make changes, we can
Yeah,
to
she
that.
said
But
we could
I had
change
the
it.
one
Yeah.
incident where I had
Well,
the,
the email Miss Allison sent back says currently Anderson County requires an individual's phone number on all speed limit change petition. I could not find any statute that said a phone number is mandatory. If the court chooses the requirement can be eliminated.
change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll change it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Somebody will put that on the, maybe
Future,
the
yes,
next
sir.
agenda.
Yes,
Okay. All right, well, I was trying to kind of head that
I'll
off.
let you.
Commissioner Chapin made the
Did you
motion
get
to
the-
accept.
Yes, I made the
petition, correct?
motion
The
to
original
accept it.
petition.
You need a second, somebody.
Yeah. do you-
Second.
Do you want,
Sir.
wanna have it where we set a future meeting for a hearing on that?
Does it, I guess, do I need to say that it needs to be set in 2 weeks?
Yes, sir. Next
Yeah,
Commissioners Court.
the next Commissioners Court to have the hearing set for if anybody contests the speed
Okay.
limit. That'll be amendment to my motion, my first motion.
So Commissioner Chapin's motion is to approve the petition to lower the speed limit on County Road 463 from 60 to 35 miles per hour, and to set that for hearing in our next Commissioners Court meeting. Is that a second by
Yes.
Commissioner Mims?
Yes, sir.
Okay, second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Item number 15, consider and take action on repairing a washout at the Texas Department of Public Safety offices. I know Allison was looking at that.
Yes, and he said that, or Allison said she would work up an interlocal, it has to go through an interlocal agreement, so she was gonna work on the interlocal agreement so we can pass on it today until a future
Okay.
court date, till he gets the interlocal agreement taken care of.
Okay. All right, so we'll pass on item number 15.
Yes, sir.
All right, item number 16, consider and take action on changes to the Anderson County Personnel Policy, Section 8.3, vacation leave. Ms. Lambright?
I believe at a previous commissioner's court, prior to me becoming county auditor, the court was spoken to about the or asking for direction about someone's last day when it involved vacation payout. It was never put in the policy in black and white, so I was just asking the court to memorialize what your wishes were. So I just added a line at the end of payment for unused vacation leave upon separation that says employees must work on their last day of employment.
And that was what the court had agreed on back then.
Right, and that's what
And
the
it never
auditor's
was
office has
put
been
into the
doing.
deal.
But so that all the employees know this when they do leave, we'll put it in the personnel policy.
Okay,
That was the only change that
all right.
Was
Just add the
recommended.
wording, employees must work on their last day of employment.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
Yes,
Okay, under payment for unused vacation leave
upon
upon
separation.
separation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve that addition to our personnel policy.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Chapin, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dixon, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Okay. Item number 17, consider and take action on approving the requested renewal rate of property and mobile equipment schedules for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 from Texas Association of Counties. Ms. Lambright.
We received the quotes back, or the renewal rates back from TAC, and for the coming year is 188,579, which went up 37,716 from the prior year.
Okay. Any questions?
It's just our insurance.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the
Property,
the
property and mobile.
requested renewal rate on property and mobile equipment schedule for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 from Texas Association of Counties in the amount of $188,579. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Chapin. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. All right, number 18, consider and take action on security at the Anderson County Courthouse, courthouses and cameras and keyless entry. Sheriff Flores.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think this is just from last Commissioners Court meeting where I was trying to, or had made a motion, request off the agenda to return the control of the keyless entry at the county courthouse annex to the sheriff's office, or the sheriff, and the control of the cameras and the ability to download or record anything and keep it in line with the way we're doing things with the same system over at the historical courthouse. And y'all were going to consider it today on the agenda.
Something I checked with Mike in IT, and that is all on a separate network in
Exactly.
this building. And so I said, well, is there a way to give somebody access to this system like from another computer? And he said, no, there's two people that can access our system right now on the cameras. And this system was put in when the building was built. So it's pretty much tied to this building. And there's two people that monitor it for security and a lot of other things, for maintenance issues. So one of the constables maintains it. And I know because Doug's responded to some security issues we've had in the parking lot and some other things. Lisa monitors it, and what she's doing is monitoring it for like some of the ladies coming in at lunch, make sure nobody's loitering and out in the parking lot when they're leaving and coming in, At the same time, Doug had an altercation after court out in the parking lot with 3 or 4 people, and she dialed 911 because she could see him on the camera, and I went out to help him until the PD got here, because they were there in just a matter of a few minutes. But there's people that leave things in the courthouse, in the annex. Sometimes it's a JP office, they'll leave it laying on the counter. Same thing in a tax office. We can identify who it belongs to. A lot of times we can see the license plates, so the tax office can contact, or we can contact those people and get that property back to them. We use it for maintenance, because Lisa's trying to call. We had a water heater overflowing back here and leaking, and I had to get Mike to turn the valve off while James and Val were responding. And so she can see that they're there taking care of it. She's not running around the building trying to find, or I'm not, trying to find the right people. There's been times where I was trying to get in touch with Casey, and she would come the back way, and I mean, it's like making a circle, so it cuts down on a lot of things for us. It's not just a security, it's a maintenance situation for us. And the keyless entry is essentially tied to this same network the same way that the cameras are. So it's not one of those things that just saying, here you go, and changes this over to another building. The other thing is Human Resources is in the auditor's office. So when we've got a new employee that's working for one of the elected officials here, if we're assigning a key card to them with a serial number, and Lisa keeps up with that, and she's got a spreadsheet, or she's got documentation on who has what key. Emergency management makes the IDs for them. And so it's kind of one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And it's not like, now, if you want to put cameras in, then you can take, because it's web-based, like y'all explained, where people can look on our website and see Verkada over in the courthouse now. If you want to expand that, you'd have to put cameras over here on Verkada. But this is not a system where you can just move it over. And I mean, I think y'all talked about one thing where Mike had to download a video for you. We had to do the same thing for the PD on that incident. We had 2 people running my office, 2 ladies. They were being chased. And so she pulls up the camera. They identify the vehicle in the parking lot. I'm trying to check, make sure they're not running in the building chasing them. And she's calling 911 to get the PD here. The PD got here. We were able to show the camera to the police officers, and my understanding is they found them within just a few minutes. We actually had them on camera throwing something at their vehicle as they were in the parking lot, and Mike downloaded the video and gave it to the PD. So it's not like this isn't working, but it's a benefit to us to be able to see who's in the hallway, if something's going on, so she doesn't exit looking for somebody. A lot of times we're gonna have non-contested probate hearings in my conference room. Well, she can see without having to go out in the hallway and looking for lawyers that they're standing there with their clients. So it's a big benefit to us, okay? So I'm just saying, this isn't an easy fix. If you want to try to put a proposal together for Verkada to try to add cameras over here that you can monitor just like you're doing at the courthouse. But
Well, that was a lot of conversation to say that you didn't want to do or you couldn't do something that I didn't even ask you to do. I just wanted to make sure that the ability to download or record had to run through the sheriff's office. Having many eyes watch is my intent. If there was a way to put a mini screen on every computer that's issued in the county to allow them to look at the annex and or the historical courthouse, I'd appreciate it. That has never been our goal. The more people that have watched that can pick up the phone and say, hey, a lady just slipped going up the stairs at the courthouse, or there's a domestic disturbance in the hallway near Judge Duran's office. I'd love to have that ability. We would never restrict that because it's in the best interest of what I do for a living, which is provide security to the Anderson County courthouses.
But since you're basically responsible for the security of the courthouse, the key system needs to be in your call and your controls. That's basically what you're doing.
Yes, so that we don't have.
So at that point, can you work out a system to where if we give you that, situation today, you take this, where if it has to have a place here, I mean, that you could work that out to where, I guess what you're trying to say mainly is that their keys are not distributed without it going through you, basically.
Yes, that's what I would like to know, is which one of the elected officials would like to have keys distributed? And if they had somebody leave their employment, whether voluntarily through retirement or termination, that we have immediately the ability to cut that off, because it is a security, to cut access off, which is done through a computer, and they would not be able to access. It would be a
Yes.
security enhancement for all the other employees.
That's why I was explaining that. I need the commissioners to understand, this is on a network for this building. It's not one of those things that you can take and move it to the sheriff's office.
But he needs to decide that if it's his responsibility, is what I'm saying. So you're gonna have to figure out whether if it can't be moved, that you have to work that out of here then. Is that correct? Or do you
Well,
have
I
to
mean-
figure out how to get it
But
moved over
What
there?
it comes down to, you're over the security of this courthouse, and right now.
Yes.
What does the statute
Don't
say?
have any control over security.
The government code 291.003 just says the sheriff shall be in charge and control of the courthouse, subject to regulation by the commissioner's court. It's one sentence, it's very broad, but it's also one of the broad duties of the sheriff to do four things. One of them is to run the county jail, two is to ensure public peace, three is to serve the criminal and civil papers of the court, and four is to secure the courthouses. So those two things fall hand in hand with the sheriff's duties. If we can figure out a system to authorize the issuance through Lisa, because we wouldn't be trying to do it after 5 o'clock or on weekends and holidays. We just want to be able to control that former employees are terminated, their access cards are terminated appropriately, that if they're not accounted for, we know when to make a phone call and encourage somebody. You know, we have that happen in my office. They resign, and then they take their sweet time and bring in their uniforms or other equipment back. Well, we cut off their access card or any key card that they have immediately. So they can't
Yes.
access anything they shouldn't have access.
But as far as us authorizing you the ability to access this machine or have it, that is already in your field of responsibility, isn't that correct?
As I interpret it,
So, I
yes,
mean,
sir.
at this point, you need to decide, I don't know what this court needs to do for you to, I mean, wherever you want it to be is where I would say it needed to be. You know, whatever you'd have to do, you'd have to find the steps of what it takes to get it where.
Maybe authorize me to work directly with IT, since they don't fall under my span of control, to work out a system that would best serve that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but there's no problem with, if you need to download a video, of contacting Mike and getting that video. Same thing as the PD did.
Yes, but somebody had to authorize that, because Mike works for somebody. He doesn't work for me, and I can't give him orders or instructions. But I don't want anyone else to be able to instruct the download of any videos that are security related
It has to go through you.
without going through me.
I got you.
So if the
I
police
can
department,
understand that.
if the police department is working a case out here, you're not wanting us.
I want them to get it. I just want to be able to be the one to authorize it. We don't have a problem doing that. Kathy Luker at the DA's office needed a video the other day. She sent an email. We authorized it. She got the video she needed to further her investigation. Creates a paper trail, command and control.
And your access is 24 hours a day. I mean, you've got somebody in play all the time. So.
As far as the administrator on the
Yeah.
Verkada system, yes, the
Because
administrator can have
5,
access to
5:30,
that.
and we're on call, yeah.
Yes.
I got you.
So if somebody needs a key, then we could send an email to somebody in your office that you authorized to have control of,
We'd work out a system, yes, sir.
so we could work something like that.
Kind of like when we sign up a new employee, it happens in my office, but we send them over here to see HR. We send an email over with a fill-in-the-blank form to the auditor's office. It tells them exactly what payroll status they're in, which employee number, because I have so many employees. If they're replacing deputy number 14 on patrol, it's filled out, what stipends they get, and so on and so forth. And it's all done by email communication, so when the new employee comes over here, there's a record already in their office of what they need to activate on the payroll system for them. We would work out some system of that nature but the Commissioners Court has to authorize that to happen, because I can't go in and tell Lisa what to do. She doesn't work for me.
Well, I don't have a problem with authorizing her, just send you, or telling her that if we're gonna put in a new employee, give them a key, send a notice to you.
Yeah,
And if somebody's resigning and they're turning in the key, we can send an email to you.
yeah, I'd like to be able to work on that, make sure I knew who had access. If there's any keys out that are courtesy keys, which we wouldn't want to eliminate. I saw on the commissioner's agenda today that we're going to need potentially after hours at 5:30 for the quilting. So we'd want to have courtesy keys available that if you authorize somebody to come in and use the courtroom, that you had keys
But you
in your
said-
possession.
You said you would be willing to leave a certain amount, you know.
Yes,
in-
yes, that's
And
what
that
I'm
you would
saying.
issue, if you issue to the judge's office, then, I mean, he could be accountable for them, and knowing what he's got, could
Yeah,
write you, email
it's
you.
kind of like, if I check into the Hampton Inn in Dallas and I keep the key when I leave by accident, I can't go back next year and get into that same room. They're gonna cut that key off.
That's right.
The judge or the commissioner or emergency management, they'd have some courtesy keys to people they need to be able to get in during that time period. And somebody loses one, they drop it down the drain outside when they're walking in the park. They just call and say, hey, we need to cut that key off. We didn't get it back, or it was lost, or it was damaged. It's just a matter of having control and oversight. We're not going to take anything away from anyone to have access to the government buildings that they're paying taxes for. We just want to be able to have more security and be more accountable.
Most of the time, like the 5:30 things, we just unlock one door. We don't issue a key. Nobody gets that. That would only be like the Democratic Party came up here and used 2 of our rooms and the Republican Party used the other room for their party meeting.
We would want to restrict that. We'd want to make sure that they had courtesy keys available through the county judge's office. But if one came up missing or lost, to authorize that, to know that it's gone, try to get it back, and if not, be able to cut it off as appropriate.
Cut it off. So the motion needs to be where if you have access to work with IT.
And the
And
judge's office.
that the keyless entries, the whole would be under your authorization of who gets what and how they're issued. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Nobody else outside?
That we're able to work with IT on the camera system and
So there
with
won't be
the
a
judge's
joint
office.
deal with different ones can access it and give keys out. It has to be approved and authorized by the sheriff's department.
The elected officials, all their employees are going to have keys just like they have now. We
But
just
they still
have
come through you.
a little bit more accountability.
Okay, yes, sir. Well, I'll make the motion to allow Sheriff Flores to work with IT on whatever he needs to do to make this work for him, that he be over the
Downloading the video.
download, I guess they're all parts of it. Is that part of it too, downloading the videos?
Yes, yes.
It's completely out, all in your control of authorization of the key passages, video, accesses, anything. That it,
Okay, let me ask a question, because he just said that work with the county judge's office to issue the keyless entries.
To work out a system so
Right.
that we're on the same
Where you
page.
get a
and
notice,
Yes,
who's got what.
yeah. So it's similar to what we're doing at the auditor's office.
But are those the
Open lines
extra-
of communication and be able to have some accountability.
but the keys that the judge's office gives out will be keys that you authorize as extras.
He might have, I'm just making a number up. If he says 5 are sufficient, then he'd get 5. If he wanted 10, he'd get 10.
Okay.
But we would know that those 10 were out there, and if we start seeing access happen at
if he
weird
get-
hours, hey, those 10, that particular key accessed that building, and that was out of that 10 that the emergency management had. And we'd shut it down.
But if they hand one out, they can send you an email and said, hey, we just gave this one to somebody.
Or we have a new employee, or we had an
Gotcha.
employee had to leave today in the middle of the day that creates a security risk potentially.
I think there's a little confusion, because the system that she has on her computer is in this network,
Yes,
okay? And so what I'm suggesting is if she issues a key or she takes a key back, from somebody resigning, we send you an email, send you notification that who's been issued and who's turned their keys in. And that way you've got a list of everybody that is authorized to have a key. And because you can't just take that system and put it on another computer somewhere outside this building. Because it's
That may
on
not be possible, you're right. But if, God forbid, say we had a theft of something of value in this building after hours, we'd want to start looking at key control to see what group of keys or which individual key might have accessed the building. And I don't have that ability now,
And
and there's
I'll
no.
have to talk to Lisa, because I don't know that she can do that. It's just who has access and who doesn't. I don't know that there's a computerized program that says who came in this door at a certain time. I'll have to check with her on that. I didn't know that was gonna be an issue.
But that's something, if you work with IT, that you can
Yes, that's
resolve.
what I'm saying.
See,
I think
IT doesn't work for me, neither does Lisa or emergency manager or anyone else. Y'all have to authorize
Yes,
those
sir.
things under 291.003 for them to work with me.
Yes, sir.
And maybe the system won't do it. But if it does, we need to know and we need to have access to it
Well,
so
I
that
think
we
you
can
said
utilize
there's
it.
2 access points, one in your office and one with Mike in IT, correct?
Yeah, but let's don't make this so specific that somebody comes to work tomorrow, they're not gonna be able to get in and
I
out of the
don't
building.
think that'd be an
No.
issue.
I wanna have an opportunity to come up with something that's gonna work. And I think sending him an email and somebody monitoring who has keys, and he has a list of everybody that has keys and who's issued, then that should rectify that situation. And she's gonna have the list.
But she's gonna be authorizing the key passages to who's gonna get it. That's what he's saying. He wants that responsibility to be in his office. He will authorize it, is what he's trying to say, because he's responsible for the courthouse security. So he needs to have access to the IT department to see if you can work out a system that'll work for you, so that you directly, or your sheriff's department directly, will have that ability to authorize, and nobody else in the system can authorize a key entry unless you,
Yes, new hire.
that's right. I don't think you're gonna
Just,
deny
just
any
kind of
of
like I send a message to the auditor's office, we send a message, we have a new hire in a particular division of county government that needs access to the annex building. They need key authorization. That would come to me, and we would authorize, since the system won't support relocation, we'd authorize the county judge's office, Lisa, to make a key and issue it as customary. But we'd also want to be notified when that person is terminated or leaves employment voluntarily, so that we know that that's no longer an authorized entry.
But that'd be a choice you could make, I mean, on where you wanna put that liability, cause at the end, you're the ones responsible for the security, correct?
That's the way I see it, yes, sir.
Well, my motion still stands to allow him to work with IT to see if where he can work out and see what options he'd have on the placement. Then if you decide to authorize somebody in this building to make decisions or contact you at that point, giving you the authority of the key entries, videos, accesses, anything that refers to security for Anderson County's courthouse system, put it in your hands. That'd be my motion.
Okay, I would like to ask if this motion does pass, if there would be a way you could see about adding another access point to that system. Maybe the access point, if that company who installed it could come in, or whoever's serving it, instruct IT, if so, to put a central hub down there also, where just like you have the 2 in here, if they can find any kind of access point to put down in the sheriff's department, that way you would have that down there also.
I'd be more than willing to do that. The reason I hadn't been over here yet to sit down and talk to Mike about it is because the IT doesn't work for me, and I needed your authorization to do that, because if I interrupt their workday for things that are not their normal line of work, it reschedules their whole day. They don't work for me. But the security issues are my issues, and now that if the motion passes, I will have the authority to sit down with him based on y'all's vote to try to work that out and see if that is a doable thing or not. Am I can't answer that
Just
question.
come
I can
back to
just
the
say
court
that
with a budget,
we will
and
work
see
on
if we
it.
can approve it.
What? So we got two people kind of making different motions here.
No, sir.
Well, I know Commissioner Chapin's making a motion, and then you wanted to add to it.
Well, no, sir. I say if it passed, I would like to see if, under his direction with IT,
Okay.
if he would try to find, if he could find if there would be an access point or a new portal that they could drop down at the sheriff's department.
Understand?
Yes, sir. And if he'll bring that budget amount to the court, and we find funds to see what we have to do to get that.
And it may be we need to expand our copy,
Yes, sir.
because then all of them can see. Okay. All right. Motion by Commissioner Chapin, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dixon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain. And that's just because I think it needed to be more specific. Yeah?
I guess this is more for the sheriff than for y'all. About 3 years ago, we had a under 18 girl come into our office. A man had literally followed her from the inspection station to, you may have even been here, I bet you were.
I went in the building, I recollect what you're talking about.
Okay. Anyway, this man followed her. Whenever he got here, he kind of propositioned her. He said some things to her. Anyway, immediately they were able to get the tapes on this, and things were done. Is this going to change any of the time process that it takes to do that?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
In a situation like that, the sheriff's office was involved. And,
I know the tapes were here, but yeah.
and IT would be able to download that and provide it, because if there's gonna be an arrest or charges, or even a grand jury submission, we would need that video, and they would be the ones to that.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was gonna take
I don't wanna
any
change
more time.
access. I
Right.
don't wanna change security. I like everybody being involved and being concerned, but the buck's gotta stop somewhere.
Right,
And
I get that.
I believe it stops with the sheriff.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for myself. I just don't want anything to be, I mean, in that case, she was a young girl.
We're not fixing to
Devastated.
unplug anything and stop doing anything.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, item number 19, consider and take action on renewal of the LESO contract between the Anderson County Sheriff and the Department of Defense, and authorize the county judge to co-sign the contract. I think we did this last year, didn't we?
We do it every year, Judge. I think we sent a copy over for y'all to have inclusion in your budget. I've got the original here. If the court authorizes you to sign, I've got it ready for your signature so
Okay.
that we can file it with the state coordinator.
And that's basically on equipment that you've got.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Like the MRAP that we use if we need a, large vehicle.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal of the Texas LESO contract between Anderson County Sheriff's Office, Department of Defense, and authorize the county judge to co-sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Chapin.
You
Do I
got a
have
question?
second?
Well, the judge, you say you sign or the judge?
We signed it, I signed it already in anticipation of y'all, we do this every year, we do an annual inventory. This is just part of the process, then we have to file it with the governor's appointed SPOC for the state of Texas, and then she'll sign that.
But we did the same thing last year.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm
Yeah, we
fine.
bo-
I just
we
wasn't
both
sure on
signed
the
it. We both
signature. Both signed, okay, I second it.
Okay, second by Commissioner Dixon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. And just on that motion, Commissioner Mims stepped out of the room for a minute. Okay, all right. All right, item number 20 is consider and take action on accepting a quote from Keys and Locks of Mineola to install locks in the historic courthouse and authorize up to $7,500 from courthouse security contingency to complete the project. Sheriff Flores.
Yes, this was also in the agenda last time we talked about it, and since then I was able to meet with this locksmith from Mineola. He operates offices in Athens as well, and services all over East Texas. This would go into, this is a bid for 25 total locks. It would go into quite a few areas over in the historical courthouse that are common areas where multiple people might need access to it. I'll use an example. Maybe one of the rooms that we use for meetings with attorneys and their clients, or a witness might be needed to have a little privacy before they go to the witness stand so they're not in the hallway. Those doors being open all the time and unlocked creates a security risk. But having a deadbolt lock on them creates a inconvenience for the DA's office or my office, or if it's a family issue with Judge Duran's office, they have to scramble to find a key or a bailiff to come over there. These locks would have a keypad on them like the one at the district court coordinator's office has. Y'all have probably all seen that on the second floor. It'll hold multiple codes so that the people that need to have access to it, like the maintenance over at the courthouse, the district attorney's office, the bailiff division, and others would have codes that would allow them to access these various rooms.
Their codes, yeah.
Yes, without waiting on the bailiff.
And they do have key entries as well.
They will have a key override
Because,
entry.
the batteries go
If the
dead.
battery goes dead or something, there's that fail-safe. If a bailiff is there and an attorney needs to meet with a client or somebody or have a private conversation, the bailiff doesn't have to run back and get the other key ring. He could open it up, make a security sweep and say, well, gentlemen and ladies, when you're finished, just shut the door to lock behind you. It'll be resecured at that point.
That's right.
So it'll serve us very well, I think, over there and make things a
And
little
they're
more
all
secure.
interior.
Are you gonna
No
try to,
exterior.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they're all interior locks, no exterior locks.
No exterior locks. The 8 doors that access the Anderson County Courthouse, historical courthouse now, nothing's gonna change there. And each suite of offices that belong to that elected official or elected officials in the case of the district, that's their area. They've got those keyed how they like them right now. It's the common areas that we would have access to, or doors that don't have locks on them now, so that would be more efficient.
Well, that was gonna be my big question, was we're not talking about the 8 exterior doors.
No, sir,
And
not
then the
that.
other, we talked about last time of trying to have the physical keys, all the locks keyed alike for the
Yes,
physical key.
yes.
So you got one and I'd like to see it, that maintenance has one just for emergencies, if they're having to respond to emergency, or we're having to lay carpet or do flooring or whatever.
Any of these common areas, there would be a common key code for maintenance, and they would also have the actual physical key override if for some reason a malfunction or a battery went dead.
Well, that's what I was worried about, is the battery.
And we would try to put them on a battery schedule, but the more it's used, the more it would run down a lot faster. A seldom used lock might last almost a year, where a door that's used quite a bit every day, it might be a 2 to 3 month battery.
Okay.
So maintenance would have that ability.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve accepting the quote from Keys and Locks of Mineola to install locks in historic courthouse and authorize up to $7,500 from courthouse security contingency to complete the project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dixon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor say
Hey,
aye.
before
Judge,
I-
Judge, I have a
she has a
question.
question down here.
I'm sorry, who does?
I do.
Megan.
On the invoice, it says 50% will be needed once accepted by all parties, $3,000. Is the court approving that? Because that's not typically what we do.
So we'd have to
We'd
make
have
it
to-
part
I
of
think
the
I've
motion.
had that issue on just some different things that we've done as far as maintenance and all. And that's not typically what we do. But I think, Anderson counties can pay the bill. Can you talk to them about that? Because that's not something we customarily do.
If y'all will approve it with the proviso that we eliminate that through, I can show him the approval from the Commissioners Court and maybe a signature on the bid
The quote.
from the county judge, so he knows we have the money to pay our bills
Yes.
if we authorize that payment.
Bill's been authorized.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And we will get the tax exempt form, so they'll take the tax.
Yeah, we'll need a W-9 and,
Yes, and then we'll provide them with a tax exempt form.
okay, all right. And I think it was unanimous vote, was it not?
We hadn't said aye yet, but that was,
Well,
yes.
some of us did.
Aye.
All right, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, so ordered. Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 21 is consider to take action on accepting a bid from Super H Construction for construction of a doorway and installation of a security door in a historic courthouse in the amount of $5,900. Sheriff Flores.
I think that was also sent over. It's included in your packet, but that is the second floor, the large district courtroom that is an open hallway through a set of swinging doors. We've talked about this a couple times, and it was on the last agenda. I had them update their bid. The bid hasn't changed from the original bid, but it was resubmitted at $5,900.
All right,
The
so,
change on that with the passage, the part of the unlocking from the push that, all that's fitted into this?
Yes, yes, we've talked about that, and I'll make sure that we coordinate any locks with Super H and the Key and Lock Company if that is approved, so that everything works together.
Okay,
So
so the
that
key
we
and
have
lock,
one
yeah, that's
key.
all, okay.
You know, if he's got to buy a lock, I'll tell him where to go buy that lock from and what model to get it, so.
well, this quote is different than what we quoted and approved back near the end of last year, and it's a different vendor.
Yes,
Now, what I'm saying is there's what's quoted on here is a 4-foot door.
yes,
We went back to a 36-inch door because of the structure that was gonna have to be built to support the 4-foot door. And one of the things the fire marshal indicated too is that door during court's essentially gonna have to stay open. In other words, it shouldn't be able to be closed. The other thing is you got a public trial, and so you can't give people the impression they can't go in. But and I'm just saying, the reason we didn't do the 4-foot door, we were looking at the 4-foot door last year when we were going through this process. But the structure that's gonna have to be built to support that larger door was gonna have to be a whole lot more work. And this, building that structure, I just wanna make sure that you know, a few months from now, the door's not dragging or you don't have a problem, because you don't have the structure behind it. We approved a quote, and we signed an agreement with another bidder back when we did this, and then we put them on hold. So I'm just bringing this to the Commissioner's Court. Here's the quote from before, and the specs are different. So what specs did we use on going out for quotes on this one? Here we go.
that bid expired because of the involvement of the Historical Commission and the wait of 180 days. And
Well,
after the last meeting, I said that I would update quotes from vendors. I contacted
and this is,
Cavalry Construction
right, they were the
and
original
asked them
bidders.
to update their quote, and they responded to me on May 10th. I got your email and I passed the information along. We'll get it back to you as quickly as we can. I sent that 2 or 3 days prior to receiving this in response from them on May 10th, which was 10 days ago. As of this morning at 9:15, when I left my office, I didn't have a reply. And I had asked for their update to note a change to the door to 48 inches with a small security window, which Super H has
Yeah, because that wasn't in the first original one.
Yeah, Super 8.
But I can assure you, there will be no structural difference between a 4-foot and a 36-inch door.
In
It's just the width
talking
on it,
to,
the header length will change, and that's it.
and talking to people who know more about construction than I do, they
Yeah,
said
so,
there shouldn't be a
I mean,
problem.
but y'all had, this, when you had it rebid, you had it added to the window that wasn't in the original, and the fire marshal's request about the door exit, I think it pushed open, is that correct?
Yes, when you walk up to the door, you'll be able to open the door. When you walk to the door, if you're running out of the room because it's an emergency.
That's right.
It will open without resistance. The only time it would be locked is if it is manually locked by court personnel, DA's office personnel,
The judge's
bailiff
request,
personnel, when the court is in recess or break and we need to secure the courtroom because of the computer equipment, evidence, or other items that might be in there, and we want to secure the courtroom.
And I
But that will
noticed-
have to be manually done.
I noticed on the new quote, it was talking about a crash bar. It talks more like a crash bar. The one that it kind of resolved is being able, like the district judge's office,
It's something that will
just like we
release,
talked about earlier.
yeah, it will release automatically with just pressure.
It has to release with one linear motion or one circular motion. So the handicap accessible, like we've got on some of the doors here, where, like in the restrooms and things, it has to have one motion down or one linear motion straight forward.
Yes, that's why Super H, they're the ones that responded, Cavalry didn't respond. They will work with the key and lock to make sure that everything meets code and that it also meets our desire to have unification of security issues like one key and one code.
All right, I just want to clarify that because I want to make sure we don't put something in that's not going to meet fire code or ADA or whatever. Okay, so is there a motion to take action on accepting a bid from Super H Construction for a doorway and installation of security door in the historic courthouse for $5,900?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Chapin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dixon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all abstain.
And this will come out of permanent improvement, just for clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah. Item number 22, consider and take action on accepting a quote from Palestine Air and Heat, replacement of the air conditioning unit in the jail medical in the amount of $7,766.93. Sheriff Flores.
That quote should have already been submitted and been in your packet. That is the amount for the replacement unit. You can see on the agenda item, it services the jail medical unit. It made that very, very much a necessity as we reach the warmer months of the year. Of course, the jail is in use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and some of our infrastructure is aging. We anticipate 2 to 3 a year probably, and this is the first one of 2 or 3 this year, I would imagine, that we're going to have to replace. Have we received that? Has our vendor received the AC unit yet? Okay. So we're waiting on that to come in so that we can schedule the installation, but it needs to be approved for payment because it is a mandatory item because it services the jail medical. We got to do it.
Is this going to be permanent improvement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve accepting a quote for Palestine Air and Heat for replacement of the air conditioning unit in the jail medical in the amount of $7,766.93. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Mims. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dixon. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So ordered. Item number 23, discuss and take action as necessary on magistration issues in Anderson County. Originally, Sheriff Flores put this on, but we had discussed last time, and the reason I didn't put it on the last meeting is y'all had kind of indicated that I could get with Judge Duran and see about the county court at law, at least looking at an associate judge, and he couldn't be here today, but he asked me to read this in the record, authorized me to do that. He's got a couple other points that he wanted to make.
No, sir.
Okay. Well, there's one Megan
Go here.
there. Can you give
I'll
Megan
give
one?
Megan one.
Okay. You want one of these here?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we need to make sure Mark gets them. All right, it says, Judge McKinney and Anderson County Commissioners, from Judge Duran, so, reference Associate Judge. I've been asked to consider and share my thoughts on the idea of engaging an Associate Judge to address an issue that is developed in magistrate and criminal defendants. I'm happy to do this, but to be clear, I have not initiated this discussion. The County Court at Law is a busy court. I and the court staff are handling the work. There is no urgency on our part for an Associate Judge to deal with the work of this court. The problem, my understanding, is that one of the JPs has taken the position that he will not magistrated to jail, but will if inmates are brought to his office. The sheriff's concern is that office is not secure. This impasse has resulted in 1 week a month not being reliably covered for magistration at the jail. Approach 1, the simplest, least expensive option, will be to take the inmates to the judge. Security is always a concern, but truthfully, every county building that houses a court is currently a security nightmare. Everywhere we mitigate the issues by staging additional officers. If an additional officer were required to allay the security concerns at the judge's office, that approach would likely be less expensive to the taxpayers than an additional judge. Approach 2, more complicated, has been the approach taken since the problem developed, that is to cobble together coverage involving other judges who serve the county. This hasn't worked reliably for a variety of reasons. That seems to be the reason this issue is surfaced now. I don't know what the current status of the agreement between the city and the county is. When the county agreed to house city prisoners 20 years or so ago, one of the benefits of the county considered was adding the city judge as a magistration resource. At that time, the city judge took 3 weeks and was available to support the JPs those weeks, and the city associate judge, who was also one of the justices of the peace, took the 4th week. The approach of using existing judges might be tenable if the county were to offer compensation for taking on the additional work. Not for me personally, but there may be others. There are statutory limitations to how this might work, but it would be less expensive than any other approach and more narrowly focused on the problem. Approach 3, hire an associate judge solely for the purposes of handling 1 week of magistration each month. It likely would be difficult to find a lawyer willing to do this. The education requirements would be significant. Compensation will be low if it were commensurate with the work, and the lawyer would have to give up any criminal practice. For these reasons, this approach is unlikely to be practicable. Approach 4 is hire an associate judge for a broader scope of work. If this approach is taken, it would make sense to have the judge associated to the county court at law for jurisdictional reasons. The county court at law has concurrent jurisdiction with the district courts in everything except land title cases and election contests. For instance, the county court at law has felony jurisdiction, but by agreement only exercises it if asked by a district judge. The county court at law also has concurrent jurisdiction with the county court. If the idea is to use the associate judge to work on matters in the county and district courts, the only way that could be achieved is by associating with the county court at law. There are a number of problems with this approach. First, if the associate is doing more magistrating, the judge will need at least a coordinator, a court reporter, and a courtroom. The coordinators of all courts have their hands full. Court reporters are nearly non-existent, and the county court at law hasn't had a functional assignment courtroom for over a year. And we're working steadily on that. As a consequence, this approach is the least feasible. If the commissioners select this option, I'm willing to assume this duty, but I don't believe it best or even necessary to address the problem would be unnecessary expense to the taxpayers. Compensation, the cost of the taxpayers will depend on the approach taken and scope of work expected. Approach 1 might involve the expense of an additional jailer. Approach 2 doesn't involve any additional expense unless offered by the commissioners. It would likely be the least expensive, most cost-effective, and focused approach to resolving the problem. Approach 3 probably wouldn't work because I don't believe that a lawyer would be willing to work on those terms. Approach 4 would be the most expensive and the least tenable for the reasons given. These thoughts are my own alone, and I do not represent the think of any other person on this matter. I hope they are also are helpful to your deliberations. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to assist. Judge Jeff Duran. Also, he sent me an email this weekend. I have some additional thoughts, and if the idea continues to be to have a judge associated to the district court or the court at law, you cannot limit the authority of the associate judge to magistration. The associate judge would have all the jurisdiction the elected judge has. Practically, that would mean that any associate judge would have to give up all their other legal work. You may find a lawyer willing to do that, but I expect you would have to compensate them somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 and provide retirement and reimbursement for training and education. That seems very expensive use of taxpayer funds to cover 1 week a month of magistration. If you try to expand the duties of the associate judge to fill the jurisdiction and expense, you run into additional issues of courtroom space. The county court at law hasn't had a courtroom in over 16 months, so I can imagine where that would be. Support staff like court reporters and the expense associated with all that. I'm happy to address any further question you or the commissioners may have. And of course, he noted in here about security and of course, maybe using a constable for security. But anyway, so, you know, I looked at what he's saying and I think he's pretty much on target. Whoever the attorney would be, it'd have to be a lawyer, and they would have to give up all their practice. They couldn't do criminal, they couldn't do probate, civil, they couldn't practice in our courts. And so that's gonna entail paying a pretty hefty salary for whoever that is. Because I looked at some of the court-appointed attorneys just to see what they were making a year. And that's only part of their practice. And that's, we're paying a lot of court-appointed attorneys in felony and misdemeanor cases. So anyway, I wanted to read that. He asked me to read that in the record. So, we're talking a lot of money. We got a $2.3 million deficit already. If we're talking about just $100,000 to $150,000 on salary, and then court reporters and administrative staff, because like he says, you can't limit them just to magistration. So they'd have to be doing other things. So.
I reached out I didn't get a response yet from City of Elkhart's judge, that works for them, and I hadn't got it. He hadn't called me back yet. I'm gonna try to see if I can get over to him this week. I just didn't know if there's any way that we could pay him to hire him like what, we considered having the other judges come in to do it. So I think that one charge is like $400 or whatever it was, to come do it. And, if there's any way to work out for that person to take it and reach out and see if that's an option before we make a commitment to a position.
I believe legally that's an option. They'd have to meet the standard of training under the public safety reporting
That's
system.
any of them, right? I mean, any of them have to do that, even our
Any of
deputies.
any of them would have to do that, and be in compliance with the Damon Allen Act. I believe the three sources that I provided to the auditor's office after our very first talk about this a couple of meetings ago, I provided that to the auditor. One of them was from Galveston County. I believe they use a system similar to that, where they have associate judges of a municipal agency within their county, and they have a contract or mutual memorandum of understanding, and where they compensate that with county money to these individuals, and they come to the jail twice a day, 365 days a year. Obviously, because they're a bigger, more populous county with seasonal influx, it's a necessity to have that large of a presence. I continue to ask for this to be on the agenda. Just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean that it goes away. It continues to be a problem for us. I continue to ask the magistrates in the county for their assistance. Gratefully, our county judge volunteered Saturday, and that helped us. Sunday, we were looking at making a transport, but the individual was so wired up, intoxicated, and incoherent due to the introduction of what we believe to be PCP. We couldn't do the transport to another county to get that judge to do it there by booking them into the county jail and making them an inmate of that county so that that county, the magistrate there could do it. I bring that person up. I'm sorry, Judge.
I was there when they brought that person in.
And you wouldn't want to
It
have.
probably been about 2 or 3 days before that person could be magistrated.
Still not this
because
morning,
they were not
Judge.
cognizant to do that.
No, sir. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to bring up my chief of corrections, my captain over here, is because the obvious approach is the approach that Judge Duran says the easiest is to bring them there. But there's a difference between bringing somebody in for a hearing or suppression or a status meeting on even a capital murder case, and bringing in the newly arrested individuals that are high or drunk or agitated, and we create these security issues. That's why we believe the best and most secure way of handling the newly arrested is to have it done in the jail.
Morning. As the sheriff was saying, the individual was arrested last night is not the same guy that we bring to the courtroom 30, 60 days later for a hearing. That person come in last night, DWI, as you seen Saturday, PCP, they're on suicide watch. I don't think any of the judges want us to bring them to their office screaming, hollering, urinating, or anything like that in the room. It provides a huge security risk. At least at the jail, they're in a controlled environment. We can put them in a cell, they're controlled. That person has been in jail for 30 to 60, 90 days, whatever it is. They've adapted to, hey, there's a chance to get out of court. They've adapted to being there, they've detoxed. If somebody comes in intoxicated, they go through a detox process. So it's a whole different ballgame than just loading that guy up or a girl up and bringing them over here. We've had a couple of altercations when Judge Wesley was seeing them when we brought them over here. The courtroom over here, somebody just walked in, a kid walked in while me and the lieutenant was over there. That guy, one of the guys that was in there was being agitated, and Judge Wesley said, hey, next time you got one, let me know, I'll just come to the jail. So that kind of stopped bringing them over for Judge Wesley because of that altercation. But not saying we can't handle it, but it's just a matter of how far do you go to handle it if it happens.
Yes, sir. Well, the problem we've got is like all 4 commissioners sitting here, we spend this last month anywhere from 18 to 20-hour days pulling those double shifts to it's not really a requirement from us. We could wait till the next day before we go clear roads, it's an option for us, so we step up to it. That's what these judges are doing, stepping up, bringing themselves to you, because everything in the law says that it says the sheriff shall bring them before the judge. And that's the whole part of where we've gotten with this, is that that's the only thing you can find in the law. So the ones that are coming to you, I think they're the ones that are stepping up, making those 18, 20-hour commitments like we do. And that's the problem we have. So the one that's not, I can't condemn him for that, with being that, it's not in his description of job that he shall come to you.
Sure.
So that's hard to stand against it, you know what I'm saying? So now we're having to figure out a way, if we can find somebody else that would offer to come to you and do that. It's a convenience and it's great, but we got to get there first.
Yeah. The ones that are coming to the court, coming to the jail to perform, yes, we understand what the law says. And we certainly appreciate it. I think it's an empty promise on the part of the one judge that doesn't come, because I checked the public safety reporting system and his credentials are not even on file with him. Even if I took somebody to him right now, he couldn't do it because he's not current. So we're back to, there's one problem, and that one problem continues to affect Anderson County as a whole every 4 weeks or every fourth week. Because I got to hunt up a judge, and we're juggling that along with all the other things we do in a situation where we're recruiting and retention is an issue, not just in Anderson County, it's everywhere. We have to provide security to inmates that are our responsibility. One's in the hospital today. We got lucky last week, we were able to release one that was in a Dallas hospital that we had to sit on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our resources are finite, and we do the best we can. This has just created a burden on us that we're gonna have to solve, and because all of us, court, me, and my employees, we're all here to serve the county.
Do you keep track to see who's up to date on the educational side of it, or eligibility to be able to?
If they're not, I don't do that as a habit. I just did it on this one to check and see if that was an option. And it's not an option if they're not in the system and up to date with their credentials on file.
So, I mean, it says that, when I made the comment and they said something about, I said mayors could do it, where they're not gonna do it because they don't get paid, but they could be paid, or could they be paid? I know.
Mayors and
judges
municipal judges can, if they go through the training.
Miss Lightfoot, she's eligible for it, and she's, she come in here and was duly elected in her position, got educated to do it, and she could do it. So if the rest of them are eligible because of their title, they would have to do what she did and put forth the effort to get the certification. Isn't that correct?
To do the Class C misdemeanors that are the jurisdiction of municipal courts or municipal judges or mayors, they don't have to have that training. If they want to do anything additional than the Class C misdemeanors that are in the jurisdiction of their court, then they would need the additional training as Judge McKinney.
Judge Lightfoot
has already.
Judge Lightfoot, how long did it take you to get your certification? Just so, something it's doable.
It's something they could do. It's a matter of finding the individual who wants to do it and
so it's
entering
all
into
online.
a usable agreement that's to the mutual benefit of that individual and the citizens of Anderson County.
If the courts could settle in on a price per,
And that's something y'all have to do because the sheriff's unable to do that.
So if you come up with a compensation for doing that, not even sure if this is the current JPs that are doing that, if we come up with compensation for them to take an extra week, is that something that could be doable? I don't know what
I
that
think
is.
there's a prohibition. I think the county judge was just fixing to answer your question.
I don't
and
think
I'll
that
let him-
elected officials like them can get paid extra to do it.
I think that's exactly right. What I believe our
And their
county
salary has to be advertised at budget time.
Yeah.
All right, this is what I'm proposing, okay? We've been going around and around and around on this. I'm not fixing to spend any more taxpayer money, so I'm gonna pony up, okay? Nobody else seems to wanna do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a Saturday, like I did Saturday, and I'm gonna do 2 more days during the week. Somebody else is gonna have to help with this. I have got a lot of other stuff that I got criminal cases, I got probate cases. But on that week, I'm gonna do Saturday or Sunday, one of those 2 days. I'm only gonna do one, because I left at 4 o'clock. I spent 4 hours at the jail all afternoon. And I did that purposely because that gets you a felony till Monday at 4 o'clock. Am I right, Mr. Choate?
Actually, one today, Judge, yes.
But in other words, I gotta be magistrated by 4 o'clock. If nobody needed to be magistrated on a felony, they got 48 hours, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that gets you to Monday, okay? So, on the misdemeanors, if you want, we're not talking about the same type of offenses, but somebody else is gonna have to help on this, because I can't take all of it. But I'm gonna do either Saturday or Sunday, and then I'm gonna do 2 more days. And on my days during the week, you're gonna have to bring them here, okay? Unless we work out something else. I have been coming to the jail, have I not? Okay, So I try to do that based on what my schedule is in working with your staff, because they got a job to do, and I've been trying to help you and them do that in the back of the jail. Okay, and the other thing is that those people deserve to be magistrated so they can bond out, okay? So, that's what I'm proposing. Now, I'm asking you to be creative enough to load somebody up and take them and go get somebody else to magistrate them. I'm trying to meet you halfway. So I'm asking you to meet me halfway.
Judge, we've loaded them up and brought them to this courtroom and other courtrooms
I
to do that.
understand,
And I certainly appreciate you doing the extra bit you are.
because we don't
You
need to
sound a little
pay
bit-
anybody else
You
any
sound a
more
little
money.
bit angry, and I'm not, I don't think that you need to be angry with Captain Schode or I, because neither one of us are magistrates, and we don't have the ability to do this, and we didn't create this situation, because it predated me taking office as sheriff of
And me.
Anderson County. And it predated you, yes, sir.
Okay, and this court doesn't tell the sheriff what to do about running his jail on a day-to-day basis.
That's correct.
We might set some policies, and we don't tell the magistrates and the other judges how to do their business during it. So we're in a quagmire. So what I'm saying, I'm gonna try to do my part, but some others are gonna have to step up too. And the thing is you have the authority to take them before some of the other judges. There's 10 magistrates in here. The other thing is, there's nothing wrong with if the police department arrests somebody and it's during the working hours, of taking that person before the city judge and getting them to magistrate on everything. And I'm gonna disagree with you. They don't have to report the Class Cs through the PSRS, the Public Service Reporting System, but they're all supposed to have the training. So the city judge had to take the training too. And my understanding is that hadn't been done either. Okay, so, but this is the thing. Judge Duran was a city judge. He used to magistrate during the day of inmates before they came to the jail or actually went to the jail and magistrated as a city judge on all charges. So, what's wrong? The city police department made the arrest. It says take them immediately or as soon thereafter in the code to be magistrated, and they got a city judge. What's wrong with taking them before the city judge during the daytime? And that relieves y'all of even having to deal with that. They come into the jail already magistrated. Wouldn't that help you?
Well, that is something that's possible. I believe the sheriff can require that. But it shifts an undue burden back to patrol officers when all law enforcement agencies that I know of are struggling with staffing issues right now. And, that's why in Harris County and Dallas County, they have magistrates courts. Nobody goes to jail there that doesn't get a warrant after going through the process. Even if it's an on-view arrest, they get the probable cause to get a warrant, then they take them to jail because the sheriff can restrict that. But if I do that, I'm shifting an undue burden to the patrol officers, the constable's office, the game wardens, and the troopers to go hunt up a judge when I'm having a hard enough time finding one already.
I'm just saying that could be a solution to look at. So,
It doesn't seem to be a good solution when we're trying to keep officers on the street and out for public safety. And now I've got we're gonna tell them they can't bring them to jail until they find a judge somewhere. So if we just had the coverage during that 1 week, it was working fine for many, many years. And then for some reason it stopped working.
you got me
I
for
certainly
3 days.
appreciate it. I have no control over, just like you said, I have no control over getting any magistrate to do anything. But I certainly appreciate you stepping up. I would ask that you ask Mike to work with us a little bit to smooth out some more bumps and work on getting a signature pad to make it even more seamless if somebody wants to do it remotely, because I want to make it as obstacle-free for any judge that wants to do this to be able to work with us to do it. Because they are going out of their way to help us.
One of the things is knowing the program, we're doing the same thing with the Veterans Office. On the signature pad.
Yes, sir.
You can do that on your cell phone now. There's an app that you can do it on your cell phone that I found out from a Veteran Service supervisor. And so they're setting up our veteran service officers to be able to do it from their cell phone.
Good.
So that might be an option.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to work
Mike,
with
Mike
Michael.
should be familiar with that now.
Good, to be able to do that, as well as, a tablet or some other device to make it as obstacle-free, no roadblocks, no speed bumps, for any judge that wants to do it.
Well, where does that leave you at if the judge steps up and does these 3 days out of that week? Where does that
Still
leave you?
trying to find the right timelines, of 24 hours on misdemeanors, 48 hours on felonies, and making it work.
There's several variables there. I mean, it's hard to go, this week, you do it this way, next week, we're gonna do it 5 different ways.
Exactly.
And you're trying to train people not to make sure everybody's magistrated. There's some scenarios where one person might have to see 3 judges at this point. So the last thing we wanna do is violate somebody's civil rights and not give them right to bail.
One of the things he's talking about happened Saturday. Essentially, we had one on the motion to revoke. There was a no bond set. That's got to go to the district judge, okay, that actually issued the warrant and put the no bond on them, okay? So there's some particulars there. The other is a couple of them only had Class C misdemeanors. I can't take a plea and set a fine.
Correct.
The JPs, if it's in their court, or the city judge, if it's filed in city court, has original jurisdiction to take a plea. I can't do, all I can do is set a bond. And if they're in there and they've got multiple charges, Class B and aboves and a Class C, when I'm magistrating them, I magistrate them on all, and I set a bond on the Class C, and they can get out, go to work or whatever. They're not restricted like you're talking about under the 14th Amendment, because if they come in there at 9:30 and they do the Class Cs and then they leave, then I think that puts us at liability and the sheriff at liability. That's just, I'm trying to protect him too. So, you gotta understand there's a lot of things that the sheriff does have to deal with, Mr. Choate has to look at. And I understand their frustration on the thing. But there's gotta be a shared responsibilities by others. That's my opinion. And I took my week. I've got 1 or 2 more weeks that I told you I'd do the whole week. I'll do the whole week. But I've got other things I gotta do too.
Where are we at on this city judge deal? I'm unclear on that at all. Is there any help from the city judge on any of this?
This is an arrangement that existed long before I even retired from the Rangers, and I don't think that it's changed much. The city judge sees the prisoners that they're on Class C misdemeanors or ordinances of the city court of the city of Palestine. And beyond that, they're not doing anything else. I don't know what, if any, contract they have with the county. That predated my tenure, and maybe that's something that needs to be revisited. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's not
They're
revisited,
doing
yeah.
that regularly with their prisoners from that court.
Could y'all possibly set up a meeting with the city and talk to the chief and the city manager and see?
I know that the county judge met with the city manager and the chief, and I'm not sure the results of that meeting or what they covered. I wouldn't want to recover plowed ground, but I'm open to any discussion that would be helpful.
In the last 16 years, I don't remember anything coming through court addressing that issue.
I don't either. That's why I was suggesting a meeting. Maybe we can go to plan forward from that meeting. That would have to take, maybe before y'all even went into the meeting, if the judge was going, you and the judge would sit down with a plan, then y'all would go from there. I could even see Choate coming, because
Well, this is the
it would
thing.
deal with
City
magistrate.
manager, this is what I found out. City manager does not supervise the municipal judge, okay? There's 2 people that the council, they answer direct to the council, is the city municipal judge and the city attorney.
Yeah, city attorney.
And nobody has authority over them, which I didn't understand. I figured the city manager had some authority because they run the city for the council. But that's what I found. So having a meeting with the city manager and the police chief is not gonna accomplish a thing.
Well, what it could do though, could be the steps of starting to get something from the council, for the council to recommend to the city attorney or to the city judge or the city attorney to recommend to the city judge if these provisions need to be in play, that this may need to start being done.
Yeah. Personally, the council ought to look at number one, the training been done? Because when I finished mine, I had 90 days. Judge Lightfoot had 90 days from the time we took office, just like I did, to get any training that we were supposed to do. They have an opportunity to do a lot more online than the county judges do. I don't know if you knew that rule or not, but we have to do more in the classroom, okay? And then, she and I both had law enforcement sieges training, so we were already pretty good on that stuff. So that gives you, but anyway, just, that's what I've committed to do, okay? And so, I'm trying to have some resolution to help you, okay?
Well,
I'm
that'll help some. It'll still leave us in a bind sometimes, hunting judges on a Sunday if it's a misdemeanor, because we only get that 24 hours. And if it falls in that magic time between, when you're there on a Saturday and.
If they want to bond out on 5,000 or under, then the legislature gave them, put that in the Code of Criminal Procedure. That's why I'm more concerned with the felonies, because that's gonna be the more dangerous cases, so.
But if they're not heard, they get the opportunity to bond out at the 5,000 under too, correct?
Well, the Code of Criminal Procedure says if they hadn't been magistrated within 24 hours on a misdemeanor, then you're supposed to release them on bond, and the sheriff's correct, it's 5,000 or under. So.
If they have a violent past, whether it's a misdemeanor or not.
I understand that.
You can't take
I
that, you
understand.
can't set that bond.
Yeah.
That might be another consideration.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 1720.
The current charge can't be any of the enumerated violent crimes. They can't have any of the enumerated violent crimes in their background even 20 years ago. And any peace officer trying to set that misdemeanor bond would also have to have had the PSRS training and have it on file with the state. So I think we need to concentrate on staying in the law enforcement and county jail business and leave the magistrate business to them.
Bring them at 4 today.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, what about we're not doing the other one, Judge?
No,
Number 24, we need.
no, you asked me if I'd put that on, and I put it on in case we needed it.
Okay,
That's all.
okay, so that was with Mr. Miller.
Huh?
That was with Mr. Miller in the
Yeah.
Civic Center. Okay, thank you.
I had to add that because we were trying to get it posted, at least it wasn't here Friday.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, is that a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Commissioner Dixon, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed can stay and be by themselves.
You're welcome.